to the next level. Welcome to another edition of SchoolOwnerTalk.com. Now here's your host, Dwayne and Allie.
Hello, Dwayne Brummett here with Allie Alberigo, SchoolOwnerTalk.com. Great to be with you, Allie.
Yes, absolutely, Dwayne. Another week, episode 275. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't have to. I've been here for all of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the truth. So we're here with a very, very, very special guest. It's the second time we've actually interviewed Master Park on our show. And it was
let's get it right. Let's get it right. It's Grandmaster Parks, okay?
That's true.
He doesn't correct us when we mess that up, but it is Grandmaster Parks.
That's right. So can I call you just Grandmaster?
you know what? You know, the word Grandmaster in Korean is called Hwanjangnim. Can you have 1 second? I'm so sorry.
That's what happens when you got live stuff going on.
It's the cleaning people.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. One of my staff started vacuuming. I was like, no.
That's right.
So going back, you know, the word Grandmaster, you know, translated in Korean is called Hwanjangnim. And the word Hwan stands for the federation, and Jang is head. So, you know, it translated is Hwanjang is the head of the organization.
Right.
So Hwanjangnim, and of course that's the formal title. So translated as Grandmaster, but it seems like in the English word, you know, it's literally like, you know, if you say Grandmaster, people are like Grandmaster.
Right.
Not just okay, so he's a master, but not just a grand. So It seems like a very, very egocentric type of a word. Okay, and I think it's mistakenly understood.
Right.
You know, because the definition, and also it's an earned title when you're in head of an organization, and also in the Taekwondo world, you know, when you reach 7th Dan.
Right.
You know, just like Shihan, you know, and so, you know, so Hwanjang is translated in that, but translation is, it comes out to Grandmaster, and you know, sometimes it can be misunderstood, because I know I've heard that he calls himself Grandmaster.
Right.
Grandmaster Park. What is this Grandmaster thing like? You know, so sometimes, like, listen, you know, I didn't say, okay, today I'm a Grandmaster.
Right, and there you go. I know, isn't it interesting at how the translations in English sometimes do sound more egotistical than they're meant to be? Like, even in Japan, if you call someone a sensei, even if their title is a Grandmaster, let's say, a sensei is perfect. You call them a sensei, that's one of the most respectful terms you can ever call someone, you know, and just don't call them by their first name when they're your teacher, right, in Japan.
Right, yes,
that's really just, sensei is a very respectful term. It's a very revered term. That means you're one of their teachers. That's a great thing.
And don't call them late for dinner.
You know, and also I think, you know, if we really study the traditions of martial arts, any style, there's always been a ranking hierarchy, you know, system.
Right.
And you know, that's what makes, you know, martial arts unique. And I think that's something that we need to, you know, remind the industry. Say, hey, listen, you know, because, you know, a lot of people don't like to be egocentric, and nobody really likes egocentric people.
Right.
But, you know, but we are in a very, to somewhat degree, you know, a very prideful industry, being a martial artist, because there is a ranking and a hierarchy system. But I think we need to embrace that rather than looking at it as a ego-infested title Mongol, you know, you know, and understand. I know there's a, you know, also we do have a reputation among ourselves, say, oh, he gave himself this self-acclaimed title. He's a master. Oh, he's, you know. So I know there's, you know, a lot of that, but there is a formal infrastructure of the title and the hierarchy in the Eastern culture, in the martial arts world. And you know what? The same thing here. Also, we see it a lot. Not see it a lot. It's integrated in the military system.
You know what though? I like the way we're going with this, because I'm a very traditional martial artist. You're a very traditional martial artist, and even though there's a separation, Dwayne too is a traditional martial artist.
I just thought you were purposely leaving me out. But that's all right.
And I find that it's quite interesting at how people will equate tradition with some sort of dogma, or way it has to be, like some mental discipline. But tradition is important, because that's how I loved my teacher. Like, I literally revered my teacher from Japan and my teachers from the United States, but I was taught how to really treat them, and it made my martial art knowledge much deeper. Like, what do you feel about that? Like, you in your school, everyone is very traditional, right? They're bowing, they're respectful, they're following the Korean traditions. Correct? Is that correct?
Right. And bowing too. That's we educate our students, because bowing in the Western culture, from my personal opinion experience, it seems like it's a very submissive act.
Right.
Submissive physical act of, I'm not worthy, but a bowing is a very part of martial arts, because martial arts came from the Eastern culture, and the Eastern culture, there is a certain set of physical way of showing formality and respect. So we educate our students, say, listen, when you bow, you're not bowing to me. Bowing is a symbolic gesture of respect. And may you understand every time you bow how important respect is in our lives. Okay. So every time you bow, you're not bowing towards you. Remember, it's a reminder of respect. Right. And it's something that when you also bow, it is an active gesture of not only remind yourself the importance of respect, but you embrace respect,
right?
By bowing it, but it's a physical gesture, so it's very deep. The bowing is a very deep form of formality, physical gesture. Okay.
I love that. Interestingly enough, that when I tell my students, like, and by the way, you could tell them why it's important and how to do it, and they could mimic what you do. But you probably realize this too. When you bow to an elder, someone that you really love, that you revere as your teacher, you feel it in your heart, your bow. When I would see my teacher for the first time after getting off the plane in Japan, it's almost like your loved one. You want to embrace them with a hug, but you put that into the bow, and you show it all in the way you bow. Just like if someone shook your hand and just kind of flipped you off, and didn't really give you a good look in the eyes and a good solid.
Right. Yeah.
We feel cheated, don't we, right? So that's much better in the United States, that we could teach our kids, and parents, I think, have to teach their children that they should revere their teachers, because nowadays we tend to want to bring icons down. We want to destroy people that are successful. We want to make them, I don't know why we do it in our culture. We're always bringing down, the rich, the famous, the ones who work super hard to be where they are. It almost seems like it's a trend, is to knock them off of their pedestal and bring them down.
You know what it is? Because they only see a certain part of them. I mean, a lot of it also do with, social media. Social media is a big stage of show off. It's not real. I mean, they don't realize the fact, growing up, you lived in karate schools,
right?
The road that if you rewind their clock and stuff, you probably have a lot more respect for them rather than hating on them because they have, part of success is not about material position, but it's a sense of pride. So,
right.
A sense of, it may be something that you were, when you didn't have success, it may be that person that you always say, wow, I remember that riding that Porsche with that individual, and I remember him wearing that Rolex and just, how I like just, sometimes there's an emotional attachment to the things that we, do. And people don't understand that. When they don't understand that, they're like, oh, look at him driving around in that fancy Porsche. Look at him wearing the Rolex. You know what I mean? But
they don't say that. They don't say that to, no offense to rap, but they don't say that to the rappers that are holding the gold chains and driving the cars with the sexy chicks on their on their arm, and they're like, oh, that's, they're emulating that I want to be that, I want to have that money, I want to have that fame, I want to have that whatever. That's okay, right?
Yeah. I think though, and this
it's not just rappers. I mean, it could, but
I think that the Hollywood version, the celebrity type of thing, people want to emulate and look and strive to be rich and famous like them. But I don't think the family parents these days are saying, like, I'll give you an example. I have 2 students that hadn't trained in a while. They came back and they're Indian. And I remember when they were little, they both got their black belts, but their dad every Saturday morning would bring myself and my junior instructor breakfast. And that, culturally, you bring those things to your senseis to say thank you. And here, I brought you breakfast. That's just what you do. And that's very Japanese. When I would go to Japan, I'd bring my teacher presents, a lot of people like, why would you buy him breakfast? He makes a lot of money. Or why would you buy him breakfast? He can afford it. I just had someone get mad at me because we did a little fundraiser to get some outside Buddhas from my dojo. And like, why should we chip in money to pay for your school to renovate it? You make money. But that was like 1 or 2 people said that, when the others were just happy to do it. So it's a different mindset these days, right? Where we don't revere as much as we should. So what did we get? We have, can you explain how to comment and be live? Because I keep trying to find the stream. He just did, though. Did it come up, Dwayne? Right? We got the comment.
Yeah, he's good. David's good.
Yeah, David, it worked. You did it. So whatever you were trying, it works. So keep it going. So let's jump into some technical stuff. So, Dwayne, do you have a good question that you'd like to ask right to start it off, as far as like the business side or the?
Well, let's first kind of set the stage. This is Grandmaster Cheong Parks, and he's in charge of Parks Taekwondo. I would say most of your schools are in Florida, if not all of them. Correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, how many schools do you have?
We working on our 6th and 7th location.
Okay. All right.
6th and 7th location. I've been in martial arts. Actually, this June will be my birthday, and I'll be celebrating my 50 years in martial arts, and I'll be 53 years old. I know I don't look like it. The Botox and the fillers. We're in South Florida, so it's gonna be tough. But I've had the blessings of experience of being a martial artist all my life, and practically being raised in a martial arts school by my late father, Grandmaster Jungsu Park, and also being exposed to being in a martial arts school and running the martial arts school. It was just one of those, family tribe thing. It was just always part of it. I didn't know, any better. I didn't know any better, and of course, we grew up struggling, and after high school, I didn't want to do martial arts at all because we grew up so poor.
Yeah.
And then I was sent to my uncle, Grandmaster Wan Gi-hong, and it was my late mother's younger brother, and he was also very close friends with the late Grandmaster Junri. And as you know, Grandmaster Junri was not just a pioneer of the martial arts and especially Taekwondo, but he's also pioneer in the establishing the business system. Okay, with the late Mr. Nick Kokinos of EFC.
Yep.
So those were. So I was once I was exposed to that, and everything was pretty much history. But I'd like to just jump in and give all the viewers all the meat, and why don't we talk about the current status of our industry and how it's been impacted by this pandemic.
Yeah, let's do that.
This pandemic, we're part of a historical humanity, his history, you know, and I mean, this turned our world upside down. It you know, when this happened, it was, I mean, I can't even describe the feeling, you know. I mean, you want to talk about the unexpected, the unpredicted, something that you would have never imagined in a modern day world with the technology and the advancement in modern medicine that we have, that a virus from a small from a region of a country, from a one person that just affected globally, and everything that we built and worked so hard for was literally being stripped from our feet, and the unknown, and shutting our world down. I mean, that was a very scary moment. And even though it's just slightly been over a year, it feels like it's been like 10 years. Feels like this pandemic is lasting, you know, forever, and it's still around. And doesn't, even though we have a vaccine, but it doesn't look like the virus is going to go away. If anything, it has mutated into different, you know, strands. So, you know, this virus is part of our life now. You know, how we adapt to it and handle it is going to dictate our way of life. And that has really changed our culture. It's changed our world. And as martial artists, we have to look at this as an opportunity to really make the true impact that we were positioned for, that we trained all of our lives for. Unfortunately, this pandemic has also decimated a lot of small business owners, including people in our industry. You know, we saw 30% of our industry just disappear literally overnight. You know, I mean, some of these schools have been in the community for decades, and some of these schools may be, you know, 50, 60, 70 student martial arts school, but that's 50, 60 families that was being impacted, being exposed to martial arts. And now that's 50, 60 people, families that are no longer benefiting from what we are doing. And if you scale that into thousands, that's a lot of families that's no longer are part of our, you know, industry. So I mean, there's a yin yang to everything. You know, the other flip side of it is, I mean, you know, there are a lot of questionable schools that is questionable of being around, you know, and those schools all been shaken out. And schools that have not prepared for the storm, unexpected storm like this, and did not have a proper strong model, also, you know, got shaken out, which basically, you know, leaves the 70% of the industry in a very important position to be the forefront leaders of the martial arts, and take that responsibility serious, and get out of the passion project mindset and keep that as your core, but, you know, build on that. Because what good is having a foundation that you're not building upon? And I think that's one of the biggest challenges of our industry. You know, we're one of the very few businesses that's driven by something a lot of industries don't have, which is passion.
Sure.
You know, I mean, passion and love. You know, those are things people search lifetime for. I know people, some of my friends, that what they do, they make a ton of money, but they don't have passion and love for what they do. They're motivated and driven strictly by monetary value. You know, and you know, we live in a world these monetary values can get you a lot of things. A multi-million-dollar home, supercars, freedom to travel, this and that, but there's always something missing.
Right.
We know, and we should be very, very happy and grateful, and be reminded that we're passionate people and we love what we do. And since we are passionate and love what we do, and because of this pandemic, we should be more responsible of that passion and that love. There's a responsibility that comes with that. And I hope this pandemic has made the industry realize that, because that foundation is God-given, okay? But you have to build on that foundation. And building on that foundation is understanding that you have to run your school in the utmost professional manner that you're running a business. And when you run a business, whether it be martial arts, bakery, a mechanic shop, there are standard rules of SOP, standing operating procedure, that we have to learn.
Right.
And I hope people really understand this. Martial art school owners really understand this, and start taking steps to migrate to that area, so you continue to thrive, because you survived. Okay.
Right.
I mean, if your school's open, you have survived.
Right.
I mean, dude, you're halfway there. I mean, you're halfway there. Now you have to thrive. And that thriving part is scientific. What do I mean by scientific? There is a proven methodology of ways to operate your school to be successful. Okay. Right. And the odds of you succeeding now is greater than ever, because of the fact our industry have been decimated.
Right.
Okay. So that puts us in a position of better market share. Okay. I mean, listen, here at the headquarters school here in Coral Springs, when I say literally, I can take a rock and throw it and it'll hit the other schools. There's one literally right of me. There's literally one left of me. And there's one across the street from me. And they all have closed down. Wow. And one of them across the street has been in the community for 2 decades, several decades.
Right.
And they closed down. Okay. So that puts us in a position of a market share. That's why the schools that have survived are thriving, right? One of the blessings that we have, being a CEO of Spark, we're able to read data. We're able to read data, and numbers don't lie. 1 + 1 = 2. There's nothing to contest that. Period.
Even the new math.
1 + 1 does not equal 0. So studying this data, and even in my schools, because we're very statistically driven, organization, we live and die by the stats. And doing the comparison stats, I mean, it's incredible. Okay, I mean, March, we had record March than last year. Okay,
are you saying your school or all schools in general?
My schools, but also in general, all across, it's rising.
Right.
Doing the stats study, it's rising.
We signed up 32 students last month.
I'm sorry.
We not 32, excuse me, 23. What was it? I told you.
Yeah. I think it was 32.
32. Yeah, we signed up 32 students last month. It was crazy.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, our March, I mean, we looked at the numbers. I mean, we were like, we're almost back where we were.
Right.
Actually, the martial arts part of it, because here at the headquarters school, we also have after school program. We don't have that in all of our schools, but this is a 10,000 square foot building, and we decided to do that. And before the pandemic, we had almost about 70 students in after school program, which represented probably about high 20 some odd % of the gross income, and that's what's missing now.
Right.
Okay, actually, we're almost halfway back. Last month, actually, our gross income went back up to where we normally do, which is right around about an average. We do about 75,000 a month here at the headquarters school, and we were able to also do that with less students.
Right.
Less student. Before the pandemic, we're a little over 300 active students. Right now, we're a little over close to 230, 240.
Right.
So things are quickly. Right now, our beginners class and our intermediate class on an average, they're about almost 40 students. We have 2 training floors here. So we have to now split the classes, and we're going to have to add more classes. So this is what we're experiencing, here.
Right.
Okay. And another area that I wanted to really address to everyone is, something happened that we cannot see, touch, or feel, which is the traffic in the World Wide Web.
Yes.
I mean, the traffic in the World Wide Web has exploded. And from what I understand, the traffic that is current was not supposed to happen until another decade. So it happened in 12 months.
Right.
Okay, and that is something that martial arts school owners needs to take very serious.
Right.
They need to take very serious. And I know you guys offer digital marketing services, and that's a must. I want to help change a mindset of digital marketing is Chinese to a lot of school owners. Okay,
Right.
Okay, it is to me to a certain degree, and but simply to put it like this. Okay, back in the days before internet, my father, okay, he always made it a point to renew that Yellow Pages ad. Remember that big thick book?
Yeah.
And it was about a $1 size ad, and I remember because it was expensive.
Oh yeah, very expensive.
It was like $600, $500-600. It was expensive.
Maybe
And we're
even
talking about this is several decades. Yeah, depending on the city. Okay,
Yeah.
so depending on population that dictated it. So if my father before he was spending $500 to $600 a month. Now that Yellow Page doesn't exist. Well, physically it doesn't exist. But
Right.
what happened to the Yellow Pages? They went and got sucked into the internet.
Right.
So my question to you as a school owner is, if internet never happened and that Yellow Pages still existed today, that same ad that my father would be paying at least double.
Right.
At least $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, as a martial arts school owner, are you paying at least $1,000 a month on ad cost? The
Right.
answer is no. The answer is no. Okay. And to hire an expert to do your digital marketing, okay, that's going to run you in hundreds of dollars. Actually, even paying $500 a month to a digital marketing expert to do done for you digital marketing is cheap. If you hire a digital marketing agency to do digital marketing for you, even $1,000 is cheap.
Right.
So in my opinion, if you're not spending $2,000 a month as a school owner, which includes ad cost and compensating the expert to do done for you digital marketing, you're going to fall behind. Okay, because especially to a school owner, because we're a struggling industry.
Right.
We're a struggling industry. $2,000, well, $2,000. I don't even have $2,000.
Right.
Well, you know what? I'm here to tell you that you can't. What's that say? You cannot afford
not to do it.
You can't afford. Yeah, you can afford not to spend $2,000. Okay, I mean, because that $2,000 a month, the ROI is going to be incredible.
Do you find?
I mean,
well, but that's true. I agree with you on that. But if you don't have everything else dialed in, or at least the fact on how to onboard somebody to actually enroll them and then keep them, you can spend all that money and it's a waste of time. So I believe that there are some schools that, one, their mindset, like you said, their mindset is there's no way I would spend $2,000. I agree that needs to be corrected. Second to that, though, is there are schools maybe with that same mindset that even if they spent the $2,000, it would still be a waste of time because they're not going to even be able to enroll 50% of those people, let alone, keep the attrition down to 5% or 7% at minimum, which they should not be there anyways. It should be even lower than that, right? You want to shoot for 4, 3, 2, that type thing. But so I agree with what you're saying, but I don't know that that's always just part of the problem. It's that they won't spend the money. It's also that even if they did spend the monno, they're still going to end up worse.
Oh yes, I agree with you, sir. You got to have the basic business infrastructure to support that. There's no doubt. But I mean, you guys are digital marketing. You also know, yes, if you don't have the budget, there's so many things that a school owner can do to have that presence in digital marketing.
Yeah.
Simple techniques like just make sure you post content.
Right.
Okay. I mean, and create a theme where you are constantly educating your community, the culture of your school.
Absolutely.
Okay? Constantly put, social proofing. This is Johnny. He came here as a very shy child. He just achieved his first belt. Look at that face of confidence.
Right.
It's simple things like that. And get that mom to say, hey, how do you feel about your child's progress here at, Abrigo Martial Arts? I mean, there's so many simple techniques that school owners can do that cost them, zero money.
Yeah. Hey, Grandmaster, I just want to comment to give another plug to Spark. This morning, every week, maybe a week and a half, I go through all my reviews from my classes and people give 5-star reviews and write a comment down. I copy and paste them and say, look what parents had to say this week on my Facebook pages. So that's social proof, but I have it there because it's an automated system within Spark that they just get it every 7 days or 10 days and they click on it.
Set it up.
In our school. So even though that the internet's not seeing that, that's more internal for us. I then copy and paste it all and put it up on my social media. And now that gets more people to want to comment as well. And then people see it. And I go, look, we got 10 5-star reviews. They didn't leave a comment, but we got 10 5-star reviews this week on Spark. And I'll post that. So it's super important for social media to really stay on top of the social aspect, not how your wife and you are fighting and not how you're mad at the politics and not because, there's so many people, martial arts school owners that literally will spew toxic stuff to their client base. I'm amazed at what people post on their Facebook pages that hurt them. It's amazing, right? It's just shocking.
Yeah, don't post political and religious stuff.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question though? Dwayne, did you want to say something?
I was going to say, I mean, I post religious stuff, but that's my school.
Right. You're a Christian-based martial art.
Yeah. So, I'm not beating somebody over the head with the Bible, but you know where I stand.
That's good.
Right.
But it's always inspirational, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you have a lot of people in your school that are from different faiths too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just the other day, what was it? Monday, I met a friend of mine. He brought his kids with one of my black belts and he was done like 12 years ago, but we've stayed friends. The dad and I have stayed friends, and he's Jewish. And we went to lunch together, and I had said something to him, and then we were talking about something, and of course he goes, he uses Jesus's name as a curse word, right? And and then he kind of looks at me. I go, hey, that's your deal, not mine. But we have that relationship, right? I mean, so as long as you are true to who you are,
right?
But you can't put information out there that is
confrontational.
Well, that is confrontational. That isn't inspiring.
Right.
You know? I mean, I don't think anybody would say that Jesus wasn't inspiring to a certain degree. Now,
Right.
where they believe him or not is a whole different story. But there are some inspirational things about him that you know, as a sane individual would have to say, okay, at least that is inspirational.
Right. Yes, every religion has a strong sense of inspiration, and that's to be promoted, because if anything, we need that more than ever right now. We need that more than ever right now because of the pandemic has caused so much negativity, stress, worry, fear. People need that sense of inspiration.
Yeah.
Wherever it's coming from.
Hey, Grandmaster, I have a question. So in general, if you were to kind of give a blanket statement of what you find in the industry, do you find like, there's a top percentage of school owners that are doing it all and doing it well, right? But then the smaller schools, do you find certain character traits that people need to break out of in order to be able to grow? Like, for example, oh, that'll never work in my area. That price is way too expensive, or I would never pay for software. That's a waste of money. Like, do you find that you come across that while talking to people as an owner of Spark, and you see that there's a certain mind shift that we need to get, or a change of attitude or thoughts?
The most difficult person to judge is yourself. Okay. We don't look, the most important traits of being a successful martial artist is the ability to self-analyze through humility and understand and identify and accept your weaknesses and be willing to do something about it. Because the most powerful journey that a human being can take is a journey of self-discovery. The journey of self-discovery is everlasting until we literally die. The
Right.
journey of self-discovery is what empowers you as an individual. But if you don't have the mindset to discover all aspects of yourself, whether it be good, bad, the ugly, then you cannot grow as a person. I mean, I am not the same person I was a year ago.
Right.
I am not the same person I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The ability to evolve and understand yourself is what makes you a true leader.
Right.
Because you accept all aspects of yourself and you're constantly evolving to improve.
Right.
Because ability to analyze your past, your current, and where you want to be future is a very difficult, challenging thing to do. Because there's a saying, truth hurts. Right? Truth does hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Truth does hurt. Nobody want to hear their flaws, especially when someone else is, pointing it out.
Right.
And it's hard to, it takes a lot of inner strength to admit to yourself your inabilities.
Right.
Your incapabilities, uncapabilities.
Right.
But once you're able to do that, there are so many resources that you can turn to and make that.
We lost him, Dwayne. You're back. There you go.
So once we understand that, we're able to make the paradigm shift. The paradigm shift is what's going to really, really empower you to be a successful human being. Because the resources for a school owner to be successful is out there. Okay, it's not a secret.
Right.
Okay, it's really not a secret. Okay, matter of fact, there's so much wealth of free knowledge out there too. But if you don't adjust yourself to read that language, then it's very difficult to open that book up and understand the contents.
Right.
So that's something the best advice I can probably give. Okay, and yeah, that's you said a power phrase when we're talking like, oh, that won't work for my school.
Right.
I mean, you're absolutely right. It won't work for your school.
Right,
You just said it won't work for your school.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, when we say, oh, I can never do that. Oh, I don't want. You're setting up yourself for
Failure.
I don't want to say failure, but you're setting up. You've already set up yourself not to be that. But the truth is, what do you really want to be? I mean, listen, if you're content and happy where you are, and you really believe, hey, that's not for me, then more power to you. Yeah. That's good. That it's not for you. Okay, then you don't have to worry. There's no changes to be made.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you're hiding behind that statement, that's really not for me, but in essence, deep inside, you really want that.
Yeah.
You know, but you're hiding behind it. Says, well, that's not. You know, it's a defense mechanism.
Right.
Because, you know, I mean, as human beings, we have a natural defense mechanism. But if you're using that as a defense mechanism behind the truth, you know, you got to really realize that. And getting people to realize that is the most difficult and most challenging task.
Well, yeah, because that's the conversation that they're having in their head. I did a Facebook Live yesterday, and Allie, you saw it, but I talked about the law of the lid. And Jonathan Maxwell, who's a leadership trainer, he coined the phrase the law of the lid, but he took the story from Zig Ziglar, who talks about training fleas. And there was a study that, you know, how you train fleas is you put them in a jar, right? And then you put the cap on the jar, and then, you know, you got the fleas jumping up and they're hitting the top of the jar. Well, eventually that hurts, and they go, well, anyways, the study was you left the fleas in the jar for 3 days. Then you take the lid off, and the fleas will not jump out of that jar because they've trained themselves to that's only as high as they can go. So our circumstances in our life, the people in our life, the circumstances in our life, we've allowed them to tell us how far we can go. It's only when we decide to jump out of that jar is that when we go, oh, okay, I can go this far, even if you do make a mistake, or even if you do have a hard time, or whatever it is. But it's that law of the lid that we need to overcome in order to push ourselves. And right out of the jar is the next growth for us.
Right.
And what we don't understand is when we jump out of that jar, though, we're in another jar. Now, that jar's lid might be a little bit higher, but we got to learn how to jump out of that one as well, and so on and so forth, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that's very powerful, because one of the most important ways to really make that paradigm shift, you have to be in real close touch to your pain.
Right.
Okay. The pains surfaces and it gets our attention. Okay, and it gets our attention to a point. You know, I got to do something about it. It's kind of like it's kind of like our health. Okay, like for example, you know, I have my knees are starting to deteriorate, and the pain of that comes up every now and then. And I say to myself, I gotta go get this attention. I gotta go see my orthopedic friend. Okay, and get attention. Okay, boom, that comes up, and then we get busy, whatever, it goes down. So it disappears. So we forget about it. And then, but sooner or later, something will happen. I'll feel that pain again. It'll come up, and I'll say, God, I got it. And after a while, I gotta becomes subconscious. And you know how long I've been saying I got to get my knees checked out?
Right.
It's and then it's got to get to a point. You know, something bad happens, my knee pops out, and then I have to can't walk, and then I'm forced to get that attention. You know what I mean? Right. And you don't want to put yourself in that position. Right. Every time that pain arises, you know what? I got to start. I got to start using technology, or you know what? I gotta start. Upgrade program. Okay, you know what? I gotta start doing intros. Okay, you know what? I have to change my offer. Okay, because whatever we're doing right now, there's a comfort, and that comfort is something that we feel, you know, the pillow. Okay,
Right.
But the comfort is your enemy. You have to realize that. You know, your current comfort zone is the complacency that's holding you back.
Well, the pain is the indicator that something needs to be taken care of. And we did last month we did a book study or book. We were reading a book a month, and then we're doing a podcast on it. We just did Upstream, and the concept of upstream is kind of like what you're talking about with regards to the fact that you identify what the problem is, and then don't just solve the initial problem, but why did that problem happen in the first place? So, you know, with regards to your knee, yeah, you need to go get that solved. But why did this happen in the first place, and how can you prevent it from getting, you know, happening to you in any longer? Just not, you know, solving the problem. But that's the same gauge that we need to use with regards to our business and our personal life and everything else. So from our business to our health and wellness to our relationships, you know, if you and your wife have a fight, right? And you continue to have that fight, that problem should be a gauge of what's causing those fights to happen. And then how do you make sure that they don't happen anymore? So you guys can get on the same page or talk the same language or whatever it is. The same thing happens in your business. When there's these problems that keep occurring over and over and over again, those are indicators for us to go, okay, let me see what the problem is. Don't just solve the problem, right? But how can we, you know, like don't just solve the initial problem, but why did it happen in the first place so that it'll never happen again?
You know what? Let's migrate into solutions. Okay, let's migrate into solutions, because sometimes, you know, a lot of school owners, they realize the pain, they know they got to change, but they're stuck. They don't know what, and they don't know how. Okay?
Well, they don't know what they don't know.
Well, I was just Dwayne. I've been trying to add that in the entire time. Master Park, we say this quite often, and this is a military term: is you don't know what you don't know. So I'm sure you're going to go down that area right now. Like when a school owner doesn't know what to look for, but let me let you continue, because I love where you're going with this.
You know what? Let's look at the modern day humanity. How has humanity really advanced through technology? Okay, medicine, through research. Okay, I mean, I think one of the reasons that we didn't experience the COVID, like the was it the bubonic plague that killed like 20 million people, something like that, is because advancement in humanity, technology, science, modern medicine, and because of the technology, we were able to quickly, you know, come up with the vaccine. I mean, if you rewind the current pandemic back when that plague happened, it would a zero would be added to the death, the amount of people that died. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And if you run the numbers, you know, only 10%, you know, people die from the bubonic plague, right? And why only that? Because, you know, the spread of this virus it was the same thing the way it spread the Black Plague back then, right? Like, I mean, it spread just as quickly, just as fast, just impacted. Okay, and it's because of technology. So there are scientific evidence that we, as a martial arts school owner, can turn to improve our well-being. Okay, and that's through, you know, technology. And technology is something that is also, especially in our industry, still somewhat Chinese to a lot of school owners. Okay. I mean, listen, even though as a CEO of Spark, as a co-owner of Spark, I still have ways to go to learn to platform, you know, but I think understanding that we can use science that we can use technology to better our current circumstances, it's a great place to start.
Yeah,
Okay?
and look, I said this before we got on the call, but I said, there's AD, there's BC, and now there's AS. So it's after Spark. I don't know what I would have done had I not had Spark during this pandemic.
Absolutely.
And what I mean by that is, and I said this before we even got on, was I was spending a little over $500 to have all the software that I needed to do what Spark itself does. And now with Spark, everything is housed inside of that. But what was really beneficial was how y'all pivoted. And were allowing us to not only use Zoom, but use Zoom with Spark in a way that it was going to track attendance. It was going to send them the link. It was, there was just so many things that you guys busted your butt to help all of us with.
Reminders of Zoom classes so that people were getting a notice 15 minutes early. It was just incredible.
Yeah. And so like when Allie and Allie, you were on me because you were the one that first switched to Spark, because I got you on the other softwares that I was using prior to it. Yeah. The thing I'm most thankful for is that one, you told me to get off my butt and switch. And when I looked at the costs that I actually was going to save being on Spark, so over $500 of all that other stuff down to $199 was like a no-brainer with all the things that were involved. But to see you guys pivot and to continually make the software even better, like we would make recommendations. I know Allie has made recommendations. I've made recommendations. And then over at a period of time, if they were worthy enough to, put into Spark, they were put in. And I would say a lot of our recommendations have already been put in. Even some unspoken ones that I just didn't have time or didn't think about putting in, right? I didn't get around to it, to do that. But I say all that because that's the key. Like I was just complimenting to one of my instructors last night. I said, it's funny, my program director is on Spark doing something and I'm on Spark communicating to somebody else while you're on Spark doing this to this other person. Like all of us are taking care of business. She's on the phone, but still using Spark. I'm texting somebody via Spark and he's emailing somebody via Spark. It's just a game changer. All around, it's a game changer. So am I promoting Spark? Absolutely. But what the cool thing about it is it allowed us to pivot and be as a community, talk to one another and have support. Allie and I were there for one another, but inside of the Spark group, we're all talking. You guys had webinars, like Facebook Lives that you would do and say, hey, this is why we're pivoting. This is what we're doing. You helped the community so much during that time. And I'd like to say you didn't get paid any extra, but I think you did because you saved so many businesses. And I don't know what the percentage of people that you sparked have fallen off the wayside, but I would have ventured, because of the pandemic, but I would venture to say, if it's 5%, that's probably saying too much.
You know what? When this pandemic happened, Master Ronson, I looked at you, I goes, okay, I guess we can forget about signing up schools for quite some time. But actually, the crazy thing, it went the other way. During the peak of the Spark, literally in 90 days, we signed up close to 300 new schools.
Right.
They quickly pivoted, which led to tell me that, you know what, our industry, to a certain degree, get it. They get it. They understand it.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, if you're a school owner watching this right now, you have survived. Now you have to thrive. You have no choice. That's the next direction. It's like you're halfway there. You lasted the most difficult, challenging marathon. You're more than halfway there. Now you owe it to yourself to thrive. And if you don't know where to start, I'm not telling you start with Spark. Start with technology. If you're not tech savvy, get familiar with technology. Technology has super advanced humanity. Okay, and it will. Everything that we are seeing in Jetsons is coming to life, guys.
Right.
It's crazy that we will watch this cartoon, okay, with all this space age technology, it's all coming true. And
Yeah.
it's just a matter of time before we don't drive anymore.
Right.
You know, maybe we won't see it, but my daughter will see it.
No, I think you'll
she'll
see
look
it.
back and say, Mom and Dad used to drive us to there and there.
No,
You
you'll
know?
see it. You'll see it because my Tesla drives me all over the place.
Exactly. You know?
Exactly. It's amazing the technology that's out there. It's true. The only thing that I have to add in is I think that certain things with social media, the technology has brought humanity down because people are so vicious and cruel and negative and fake lives that they live. But I agree with you when it comes to medicine and the science and running your businesses. I mean, without it, I don't know what I would do. I communicate on a daily basis with 90% of my clients through push notifications and text messaging, all stuff that I couldn't do because I didn't have enough time to do it on the phone.
You know, those people that you're talking about, though, that are bringing society down through social media, I wish they wouldn't. But what it does for people that are authentic, that are true and that are real and that are positive, it just pushes us up even more. I think it makes us even more important. So,
Absolutely.
you know, I agree with you, but I think it actually helps us.
You know what? There's two aspects to social media, business and personal. Okay. As a school owner, you need to focus on the business opportunity that can be harvested in social media. As far as social media on another level, you go to Netflix and watch a documentary called Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
It will be an eye opener.
Right.
Okay, because you know we are in we are in a technology era where our culture is being impacted by social media. And if you watch this documentary, Social Dilemma, and really understand, because there, you know, I believe in the yin yang. There's a yin and a yang to everything.
Right.
Okay, there's good to bad everything. The good to social media is for small business owner, the ability to market themselves and generate tremendous amount of customer and revenue. The downside to social media, the other side, on a personal level,
Right.
it's almost like the devil.
Right.
Watch Social Dilemma. Okay,
Yeah,
it'll be you watched it?
No, I heard it was great though. Everyone
it's an eye opener. You know, and one of the things latest I've been catching myself. You know half the life is right like this.
Right here. Yeah.
And you know, my daughter will be 3 in 2 weeks. And recently I've come to a paradigm shift and say, Jesus, you know, my daughter is growing up watching mom and dad probably about 75% of the time doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is she gonna do? Okay, and one of the things Social Dilemma talks about is how kids they learned it from mom and dad.
Yeah.
So you know, I think it's very important on a you know, family level that you know, controlling, you know, screen time is something very, very important. But from a business point of view, we'll stick to that. It's a priority. It's a must because there's a tremendous amount of business opportunity and revenue that can be generated. Right now, I mean, listen, before we heavily got into digital marketing, I mean, listen, there's only 2 ways to market, okay? Either you spend a ton of money or you're gonna have to put in a lot of footwork, guerrilla marketing, okay? All right? And our industry is not the first. We don't have a ton of money to spend everywhere like these big corporations do, okay?
Right.
Since you don't, before, we used to freaking hit the pavement. When I say hit the pavement, I'm talking go VIP in our uniform, go teach at all the local schools, okay? Festivals, this and that. Now, because of pandemic, that's all been wiped out. There's only one source, which is digital marketing. And you know what? Thank goodness that, you know, we've had that opportunity to pivot to that area. And that is our main source of generating leads now. Okay. It's through digital marketing, you know, and Spark Ignite Pro website, you know, we changed over from Market Muscle. Okay, that was a kind of even as a co-owner, that was a challenging thing to do because, you know, when you have something working, how do you transition? So sometimes that's a leap of faith that you got to take. Okay.
Right.
And the feedback I'm getting from my staff, they said it's less clicks and simple to the point. And we ran the numbers. We're generating more leads, with the Ignite website than we were with Market Muscle. And this numbers don't lie, like I said earlier. So
Right.
you got to have the right tools. You got to have the right tools in place to make it all work. And I implore school owners, if you don't know where to start, what to do, turn to technology. I'm not necessarily saying Spark, but turn to technology. That's a great starting point to really start improving and making a huge impact and making that paradigm shift in your business.
Absolutely. And we could probably, Dwayne, do another 2 interviews with you just to get, because I had about 30 questions I wanted to ask you that we didn't even get to.
Well, we'll ask you back at another time.
Yeah, can we ask you back in the future?
Yes, of course. Yes, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to. There's a question here from Facebook user. Right now, lit is COVID and another lockdown.
That's my student from Bermuda, my school in Bermuda. Frank is the head instructor there, and they're in lockdown now in COVID. So if you want to quickly answer that, and then
how do you stay positive when everything going on is beyond your control? Who removes the lid? All we can do is jump and hit our heads. We can't remove it. You know what? Yes, it's easy for me to talk because we've been very blessed because we're in Florida. Okay, and Florida was one of the very few geographical areas that in my opinion, we had a really strong leadership, and we didn't have as much lockdown, and because of the location of Florida's been discovered. Everybody's moving to Florida now, so we're in an area that's thriving. But if it was the other way around, like where you see certain parts of the world thriving and getting back somewhat, but you're going the opposite way, yes, it can have a tremendous amount of negative impact, and it's discouraging. And it's easy to say, oh, be positive, this and that, when you're in the ring getting your face punched in, you know what I mean? And you're feeling that every punch. But at the end of the day, you got to be Rocky. You have a choice. You have to be Rocky, because at the end of the day, we do there is a choice. It's a difficult choice. It's easier to go with the environment choice rather than going the opposite way. But listen, as a martial artist, you have a fiduciary duty to stay positive. And I know, whatever the restrictions that you are experiencing more on the downside, it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time before it's lifted. These restrictions not going to be around forever. It's just a matter of time. Okay. Yep. And the our leaders know that. People who make the decision of those restrictions, they know, hey, this can't be forever. Right. So just be patient. Be patient. Okay. Harder to convince students to stay when it's going on. Yes, it is. But work harder. Okay. Keep working, and have that emotional connection.
Yeah, I was gonna say, communicate more with them is a big deal. And then look, we did some creative things. We had a core group of friends of ours. I had Allie in as a guest on Zoom, and we did a special ninjutsu seminar. And I had a friend of mine, a former Navy SEAL, Kenny Bigby. He did a couple of different seminars. A friend of ours, I should say, because you're the one that introduced me to Kenny. And then I had other school owners that came in and did some special guest instructions that we would have never gotten had we not, been inside COVID.
I think Frank is his biggest dilemma is that he never switched over to Zoom officially, and his students too. They used to come in on Wednesday nights and train with my school. Like, all they would do, they have the password, they'd sign in, and from Bermuda as a group, they would train. Frank, my suggestion is do it, give them my password and information so that all of them can still continue to train at their homes.
You gotta pivot. You gotta pivot, communicate. I mean, listen, talk on their heart. Say, listen, I've been in the community for over so many years. I'm a small business owner. You know, I have 3 kids. I need your support. You know, you've been my student. I'm dedicated to you. Okay. And we're going to be doing ABC and XYZ, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can I get your support?
Right.
You know, just tell them straight out.
I love it. Well, Grandmaster, this was a great interview. I love it. It was more on my side, was more mental and spiritual and uplifting than just technical. And for me, that's amazing. I just watched a new Steven Seagal movie called Attrition. It's a brand new one, and it had a very kung fu Japanese traditional vibe to it. And at the very end, he made a speech. Being that he owns the movie, I'm sure he could do whatever he wants. So he used to get edited out. But now the speech was about why traditional martial arts and martial arts in general are so valuable to our society these days. And the speech was like a 10-minute speech about how you need to revere your teachers and find someone who could be a mentor. And I thought it was quite amazing. If you haven't seen it, check it out. You may like it or may not, but I thought that ending speech had a lot of value to it. So we're going to have to close the interview up. We're already 6 minutes overtime, and we don't want to take up more.
You know what? Last statement. I just want to add to everyone. Hey, listen. Somebody has to step up to the plate and be a leader and be strong. Okay. I mean, in times like this, people are looking for guidance. People are looking for strength. People are looking to find a pillar that they can turn to. You owe it to your students and your community to be that.
That's a great closing statement. I love it.
Well, guys, you know, thank you for the opportunity to really be with you guys. It's always an inspiration. I mean, Shihan, Ali, I've known you for over 3 decades from the APS days.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
And Dwayne, had the pleasure of also getting to know you. And you guys are doing a great job. And yeah, let's do this again. It was fun.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right,
Awesome.
guys. See you later. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Martial Arts School Owner Talk Podcast. This would not be possible if it weren't for the support of our amazing sponsors. Please check out EliteInsights.com for all your website needs. LeadHunterMedia.com, your online digital marketer and content provider. Academy Kings BJJ Growth Consulting and Management at GrowMyAcademy.com. SparkMembership.com, the best darn software for school owner manager on the planet. GetKarateStudents.com, a martial arts growth consulting company for all your school systems. We will see you next time.